Let's talk about something we all do, all the time, without even thinking about it. Using all that free stuff online. Search, social media, all of it. The price tag says zero, right? But what if I told you there's this massive, hidden value that our usual way of looking at the economy completely misses? A new study dug into this, and, well, let's get into it.
Just think about it for a second. How many hours this week alone did you spend scrolling, watching videos, or just looking stuff up? And you didn't pay a cent for any of it, did you? But that's the big question, isn't it? If there's no price, how in the world do we know what any of it is actually worth?
And this is where it gets really interesting. The monetary cost, a big fat zero. But the time cost, oh, that's very real. The data from this study showed that, on average, people were spending about 3.4 hours of their free time online every week. So yeah, we're definitely paying. We're just not using dollars. We're paying with our attention.
And here's the problem. That creates this huge blind spot for how we measure our economy. Our main yardstick for economic health, GDP, it's built to measure one thing: dollars changing hands. So when there's no price tag, it literally sees nothing. It's like a huge chunk of the value being created in our digital lives is just invisible to our most important statistics.
Okay, so let's dig into that a little more. Why exactly does something like GDP miss out on all this? What is this blind spot in our economy?
Well, it really comes down to three things. First, like we said, the old school metrics only care about money. Second, think about your internet bill. You pay a flat fee every month, right? So watching one more video or doing one more search costs you $0 extra. You can't measure it the normal way. And finally, you might be thinking, hey, what about all the ad money? But the research is super clear on this. Ad revenue is a terrible way to measure the value that you, the person using the service, are actually getting. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The researchers behind this paper put it really plainly. They said, and I'm quoting here, "The welfare contributions of the digital economy are likely to be underrepresented." What they're saying is, this isn't some small little error. It's a fundamental flaw in how we're measuring our own well-being.
So, if money is the wrong way to measure this, what's the right way? This is where the researchers had this just brilliant idea. What if we measured value using the one thing that's truly limited for every single one of us? Our time.
And that brings us to this core idea in economics called opportunity cost. It sounds fancy, but it's really simple. It's the value of whatever you give up to do something else. See, your time isn't infinite, so every hour you decide to spend online is an hour you can't spend earning money, learning something new, or hanging out with your family. And that trade-off, it has a real economic value.
You can almost picture it like a daily budget. Step 1, you wake up with a limited number of hours in your day. Step 2, you choose to spend some of those hours on these free online services. And step 3, the real price you pay is the value of all the other things you could have been doing instead. So, using that exact logic, the researchers built this thing they call a time-based model. It's basically a whole new framework that treats your attention like it's a currency. By looking at how much time we're willing to spend, they could finally put a number on that enormous value that the old methods were missing.
All right, you ready for this? This is the big reveal. Let's see what actually happens when you stop measuring dollars and start measuring attention. And I gotta tell you, the results are absolutely wild.
Okay, so first, let's look at the old way. When economists used only money-based data, things like what we pay for internet access, they figured the annual growth and value from the internet was about $2.7 billion. Not bad, right? A pretty big number.
But get this. When the researchers plugged in their new time-based model, that number didn't just go up, it exploded to $38 billion a year. That is more than 14 times bigger. It means there were over $35 billion of value being created every year that was just poof, completely invisible.
To put that in perspective, on a personal level, the old model basically said the internet was adding about $13 of value to your life each year. The new model, it says the real number is closer to $180. Which one of those feels more true to you? And this wasn't just a one-time thing like they caught a lucky year. You can see in the data, year after year, from 2002 to 2011, it's the exact same story. The value that you measure with time just completely dwarfs the value you measure with money. It shows this wasn't an accident. It's a huge, consistent blind spot.
This model also lets us make some really cool comparisons.
For instance, even though people actually spent way more time watching TV back then, the growth in value from the internet was way higher, almost 38 billion compared to about 24 billion for TV. So what does that tell us? It suggests that the innovation happening online was creating new value at a much, much faster clip.
So where did all this hidden value actually come from? Well, the data shows that the vast majority, we're talking about 25 billion out of that $38 billion gain each year, came specifically from free digital goods. That pretty much confirms it. The biggest part of the story is happening where no money changes hands at all.
Okay, so the numbers are just massive. We get it. But what does this all actually mean for us? Why is it so important to get this measurement right?
Well, for one, that hidden $38 billion, that's equal to about 0.29% of the entire annual GDP. Now, that might not sound like a huge percentage, but in the world of economics, that is a massive amount of progress in our well-being that was going totally uncounted every single year.
So, let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways here? First, the good news. Our quality of life, thanks to technology, is probably growing a lot faster than we think. But the bad news? We're seriously underestimating the true speed of digital innovation because our economic tools are basically stuck in the past. We really need to update how we measure the world we're actually living in today.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If our attention is the real currency of the internet, who's really getting the better deal here? We get all this incredible value from these free services, but the platforms, they get our attention. So in this huge attention economy, who's winning the trade? Something to think about next time you find yourself scrolling. Thanks for tuning in.